Hello viewers, this is D.V.Venkatagiri from GLEAPS, a private venture promoting international businesses. Today's special guest is Mr. K. Senthil Kumar, Managing Attorney and Immigration Specialist from Murthy Immigration Services Private Limited. We welcome Mr. Senthil Kumar to our studios. Welcome Senthil. Viewers, we all know that United States of America has emerged as the most sought after destination for the last 2 generations or for over 50 years for students, professionals as well as businessmen. Well, what is it required for a sought after nation? People would always want to go to that place, and that is why you find lengthy queues before American consulates all over the world, particularly in India. And if somebody wants to pursue their American dream, the first step is to apply for a US visa. There you have the famous law firm Murthy Immigration Services Private Limited, which is an affiliate of the famous and well-known Murthy law firm headquartered in the United States of America and run by Madam Sheila Murthy and Mr. Vasant are the 2 key forces behind this firm. Mr. Senthil, there is a feeling that the Indo-US business opportunities are increasing by the day. While that is on the positive side, there is also a feeling that the immigration scenario is becoming tougher and tougher. Is that so? And if that is so, why?
Yeah, it is true that the immigration is getting tougher in more than one ways. Primarily, it is because of the poverty and unemployment in the United States, and the US government would want to promote employment for American nationals and the local US force before others can take up those opportunities. So when they're working towards it, automatically the immigration system becomes tougher. And as you know, with the current election manifesto going on, one is pro-immigration, other one is not so much. So if one comes over the other, then we should expect more of this process getting more tougher. Primarily they are focusing on illegal immigrants and also the H&L. While the illegal immigrants, when children are born in the United States, they get US citizenship by birth right now. They want to do away with that. And with H&L, if the restrictions that are being proposed comes into effect, it will certainly affect trade between India and the United States, and it will also affect the US economy, in my opinion, in the long run.
Again, Mr. Senthil, India has raised the issue of US visa fee hike. At the same time, some of the US lawmakers have asked for reforms in the H-1B and L visa. If that happens, that is going to affect the operations of major IT companies. Wouldn't that happen so?
Yeah, there are many reforms that are being proposed right now which would affect the H and L workers. One of that is like if a company employs more than 50 employees and 50% of them are on H-1B. Right now they pay an additional fee of $4,000 for H and $4,500 for L1A and L1B, any L workers. It is a pretty steep fee, and ultimately they will have to pass it on to the customers, and the cost factor advantage which they are able to give to the customers in the US may ultimately get affected. I think primarily the idea behind this is to ensure that local American workers are hired first before getting into the pool of immigrants. So that is the reason why this is being introduced. It will have an impact on large companies, and many of Indian companies are also affected because they have to pay this fee because 50% or more are working on H-1B, and mostly large companies will be over 50. And also the proposal is that if more than 50 employees are there and more than 50% are on H-1B, they should not even be eligible to bring people on H-1B into the United States. I'm sure people will have a work around this, but if it becomes law, it will certainly affect majority of Indian companies. And because the US system works with this IT outsourcing kind of a model, so in the long run it could affect the economy also. And one thing which I'm not sure if it is being considered, I know like a lot of thought would have gone into this, but there is a shortage in the STEM, science, engineering, technology and math, right? So there is always a little bit of shortage in that. That is why, H1B and everything is coming to play. Even right now, the US workforce may not be able to meet the requirements. There is a shortage in the STEM, science, engineering, technology and math.
So immigration actually helps this shortage.
Yes, it helps meet this, address the shortage. Yes. So with all the proposed legislations, if it becomes law, it will ultimately affect the US economy in the long run, because in short term, yes, maybe some people who are in the pool and who are not getting a job may get it, but they won't be sufficient to meet the requirement is what I'm thinking.
Mr. Senthil, the contribution of Indian IT industry, in particular the Indian diaspora, to what America today is has been magnificent. This has been accepted by all quarters. But do you think that the Indian IT industry should be better heard by the US lawmakers?
Yeah, yes, Indian IT industry is a major part, and even when the fees was raised, as I was talking about earlier, from $2,000 to $4,000 in certain cases, and $2,500 to $4,500 in certain cases, the finance minister met with the US trade, representative, and they did discuss about, how to handle this. Ultimately, it is their internal policy, so there is only to a certain extent to which we will be able to influence it. But yes, they should be more considerate towards any foreign company for that matter, and that would, if they are doing that, it would automatically benefit many Indian companies.
Do you think that Indian businessmen or Indian applicants at any time sooner would get visa on arrival?
See, the visa on arrival status is in the US is called Visa Waiver Program, VWP. Okay, about 38 countries are part of that program right now, and they have a system called ESTA, Electronic System for Travel Authorization, when prior to travel people make an application and then they get processed. Without a visa, they can travel to the United States for business or a personal visit and can stay up to 90 days. India is quite far from getting there. There are also some other requirements, like they have to share a lot of information about the law enforcement between the countries, and they have to have electronic passport. There should be less than 3% refusal for B visas, and again, in terms of loss of passport, within a certain short period of time it has to be notified. So there are some prerequisites, both it requires technical advancement and other enforcement and requirements to be met. And just because a country meets with all these requirements does not make them eligible to apply for this position. The US government decides who can be part of this program. It is possible because on reciprocity basis it works, and India has extended this to the United States citizens, but it will take some time, but we are quite far from getting there, I think.
What is the current status of the EB-5 or investor visa program? There are reports that it is likely to be scrapped.
The EB-5 or investor visa program was introduced way back in 1990. Primarily, there is no change with that program, but a portion of the program may be affected by what you're saying. This program facilitates any investor to invest about $1 million in the United States, create 10 job opportunities, and they get a green card, an immigrant visa basically for 2 years, and after 2 years they are re-evaluated to see if they have been able to achieve what they had promised, and then they get a permanent card. So this program continues to exist, and also in certain targeted areas of employment, even 50% of what is being invested, even $500,000 one can invest and create 10 job opportunities and get the same benefits. In addition to this, there was a regional investment program which is run into trouble. There are a lot of reports which say that many people in this program have misappropriated the funds. The investors not even get the the immigration benefits. So which is partly true because there are many organizations which had, I believe, misused this fund. So we don't have direct information on that, but yes, we do read reports that it is being misused, and because of that, they want to do away with that program, which may or may not happen. Right now, it sunsets on 30th of September 2016. They may extend it for another term and then leave it for the succeeding government to make a final decision on this particular aspect. So only that regional investment program will be affected
right now. Is that a very popular program in India?
Yeah, because you don't have to worry about the business model and stuff like that. You just identify the regional investment facilitator, and then you give them the funds. They take care of everything for you, and you get the.
Have there been many takers in India who have made use of that program?
Yes. A lot of good programs have also been there, and many have benefited from that. But I wish people had used this more wisely, so that this would have continued to exist. But it's always, there's always pros and cons in everything.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Senthil. If the US immigration chief is going to call you one morning and ask you, Mr. Senthil, what are the two most important things to be done to make the US visa process much easier, much simpler, what will be your take?
The US government has been, the consulates have been doing a fantastic job given the volume of cases they handle. US consulate in Chennai alone handles about 1,100 to 1,200 applications every day. And imagine all the consulates put together. So they're doing a fantastic job with respect to the volume of cases that they are handling. But if you still ask me, it's good to know, but is there anything that can be done better? Right now, there is a long wait for certain categories of visas, which is directly an outcome of shortage of staff, is what we read on the net, because the consulate has put it up on the net. But if there's something is done to address that, it would help, because a lot of foreign workers who are coming to India are not able to get back on time to continue their employment. And more important than this, when somebody applies for a US visa, especially the US workers H1B, they are put on administrative process 221G. For the past few months, it appears that it's going into a black hole. Nothing happens after that. Any emails to the consulate just gets a generic response that administrative process is going on, and they will get back. So if there is a progress update as to what is happening, and if there is a time frame that can be fixed, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before which a decision can be made, it would be very helpful, because as you are aware, justice delayed is justice denied. So it is very unfortunate that after the USCIS has perused the documents and approved, and somebody is working in the US, it is being stuck here. That process should have happened before the petition is being approved. But once it comes here, it is okay to investigate, but then there should be a time frame for it. So that is something which may not directly be in the consular jurisdiction. It can be going back to the Department of State, but I think they should work hand in glove to make this happen.
Senthil, whom would you say as role models or inspiring figures to have made you what you are today?
Okay, thank you for asking this question. There are from various stages of life, different people have inspired me. Right from my school, CUNY and Holy Cross, I studied in Salem, and then the Central Law College in Salem, which again played a major role because I was able to graduate and get my law degree from there. And my parents, of course, and my dad is also a lawyer, and I got inspired from him as well. And right now, Mr. Vasant and Attorney Sheila ji, are my role models, because they are very simple and humble person. They've scaled the heights. They are in the peak of their career. They're most popular law firm in the whole world, and they're very well respected. But still, the humbleness with which they carry themselves around, and the care they give for each and every person around them is amazing. And if I'm able to achieve 5% of what they have, it is a great thing to do. And also, talking about the motivating factors behind me, starting from my parents, I've been lucky, and my wife also has been a great motivating factor. But for her, I wouldn't have had the confidence to apply for and get it in a position at the Murthy Law Firm's India office.
Can you share us some tips or valuable inputs for the first time visa applicants?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. See, first, presentation is very important. Okay, and you have a short 2-minute window at the visa interview counter. So the officers, as I told you, they have about 1,200 applications every day, and if they're going to spend more time, they would not be able to get through even 20% of that. So given this information that is being passed on the DS 160 application form is given under penalty of perjury of law. So you have to ensure that all accurate information is provided there. Secondly, presentation. You should be able to attire properly and look at the officer and talk, maintain an eye contact, and understand their question and then respond. Half the time, they have spoken to 10 different people, and when the officer is asking a question, they'll assume and answer something. So it has to be that they should understand the question and then address it. Yeah. And to the point, they don't have time to hear a story. They want to know what exactly the answer is. So if they're honest and clear, it is very important. And being very transparent is very important. See, if I put my hands under the desk, I don't know, you don't know that whether I have a bunch of flowers or a gun in my hand, right? So if you put everything on the table and leave it to them to make a decision, it will make your job easier. And they know so much of information about you which you may not be aware of. So much of information is available on their system. So when you're being honest and upfront, I'm sure it will have a positive impact on the outcome.
We once again thank our special guest, Mr.